Jon Root on the show this week here on Kickin It With Kunkel. If you follow him on Instagram, you know him right away by his hair. You know that he's a hot take artist. And I mean that respectfully. I mean that in all good fun, because you and Charlie Kirk, John, had some fun on Instagram or on X, whatever it was, about the NBA. And so, and by the way, anybody that's watching that has a problem with politics and sports being mixed, like, buckle up. Like, this is going to be a really fun episode. We're going to enjoy this. And Charlie Kirk, and anybody that knows him in the conservative world, said that the NBA is unwatchable. John took umbrage with that. And John, like, you're a realist when it comes to the NBA, I think. I think it's fair to say you call them out on what is bad. And yet these playoffs have been really fun to watch. And I kind of put myself in your category. Like, I can't watch the regular season outside of the Rockets because I got to know them, I cover them, etc. It's very different. But watching the whole league and the product, it's tough. Your take and why you shot back at the Messiah, Charlie Kirk, to so many.
Yeah, the conservative golden calf. And I think that's where, obviously, yes, the political conversation is in sports right now. And I think that's super unfortunate, but I don't think we should turn a blind eye to these. And in general, I think this is just a sports take conversation with a sprinkle of culture war and conservatism, like conservative politics in it. Charlie hates the NBA, just like a lot of conservatives, and a lot of people tuned out due to 2020. There was a lot of political activism. There's also this year the declining ratings, the style of play. Is there too many threes? There's not enough defense. In-season tournaments whack. And so was the All-Star game. But when I saw Charlie put a post out on X, it said, the NBA is totally unwatchable. That was just like a few days ago in the heat of the second round of the NBA playoffs. And I'm like, you're not watching these games. Like, are you serious? Like, because for me, like you said, I have plenty of hot takes. I've had plenty of criticisms for the NBA. I'm uncancelable now, Will. So I'm not going to say anything that's going to hurt you and your career. I'm going to keep you safe. But I'm a one-man band over here. I'm not working for teams or networks anymore. So I had the freedom to say what I want, and also at the same time, being a staunch conservative and a strong Christian myself, I'm going to be able to punch right. I'm going to say that's a dumb take. We can get into the nitty gritty of it, but I'm like, Charlie, this is dumb. And I could break down all my points, but in general, it's like, this is a dumb culture war thing to say, because if you're telling people that NBA is totally unwatchable while the MVP candidates of Jokic and SGA are going at it, the Rockets just had a 7-game series against Steph Curry and the Warriors. Obviously, that didn't go your guys' way, but still very entertaining. Anthony Edwards is becoming the new superstar and must-watch television. The Knicks are doing something unbelievable against the reigning champs. There's been multiple 20-point comebacks. Indiana Pacers are doing their things. There's been buzzer beaters. So I'm like, Charlie, what are you talking about?
Listen, he's wrong. Like, Charlie is wrong on this one. He doesn't watch it, and that's fine. But I have two things that drive me crazy in life, and one of them is having an opinion on something that you're ignorant on. Have your opinion and be different than mine. I don't care, but at least have an educated opinion. I don't love watching the NBA night in, night out, especially during the regular season. And Rafael Stone, the general manager for the Rockets, actually kind of made this point for me, and I didn't catch it until a little bit later, is that the Rockets play really, really hard, and that's their culture, and I love that, and that's one of my favorite things. He also went on to say, in the regular season, that will win you a lot of games. Playing really hard in the postseason alone does not win you a lot of games. So what that says is, like, not everyone plays really hard on a nightly basis. There's load management. There's other issues going on. Like, in the playoffs, it's a lot different. It's a different product in the playoffs than it is in the regular season. And we can get into that, because to have a regular season tournament, in-season tournament, is stupid, and it tells you that the product is suffering, and it tells you that you're trying to conjure up interest. So it's stupid because you have to do it. It's not stupid to do it because you need to do it. So it's smart if you catch my drift. So Charlie's wrong on that. And I like watching the Rockets because I've gotten to know them, not only just personally, but the way they play their game, the way Ime Udoka coaches. It is actually a very likable product for guys that like to see hard work, effort, defense, and hustle in a team game. That's how the Rockets play. NBA, let's get into what the issues are with the NBA, at least the way we see it. Far too many threes, far too much flopping, far too much load management. It feels like they don't care during the regular season. And it just feels like, to me, the consumer, if you don't care, then why should I care? What's your take on the issues surrounding basketball and why the ratings, by the way, have dropped? Because if we're going to celebrate that they're up for the first time in 25 years, then you have to acknowledge they've been down for a quarter of a century as well, if you want to celebrate that win.
Yeah, I mean, in general, the ratings are way down compared to the Jordan era, and that was just the highlight of the NBA and the resurgence of the NBA and pretty much the NBA's heyday. And they haven't been able to find that over the last decade or so. I mean, multiple things. Colin Cowherd, what he had to say months ago about load management was spot on, because it was actually, if we're going to keep going the political route, he actually ended up bringing politics into his show. And he's like, the NBA and load management are similar to the Democrats. You just can't relate to the everyday American because you're saying, hey, I can take a day off whenever I want. I'm getting paid millions of dollars and you can't tell me to play even though I'm healthy. Wow. And I'm paraphrasing all these things, but essentially saying, oh, the dad that's been working overtime to take his family of 5 or 6 to the game and probably spend more than their means and not be able to see their favorite player play, that's where you're losing the everyday fan. That's where people are like, why would I want to tune in to watch these entitled millionaires play on TV? And why in the world would I spend my hard-earned money? And it's getting more expensive to go to games and take my family. It's just, you're missing it. And then things like the in-season tournament, that's just a money grab. That's it. Nobody really, like, the only time I think that worked was maybe like the first or second season where you had a really young, I forget who almost won it. Like, it might have been the Pacers. And it's a really young team, and they have the ability to make a good amount of money on top of their like rookie contracts. But there's too many threes. Steph Curry has changed the game, and he's been so influential. But also, too, people are like, man, there's just like these super long rebounds. People are just chucking up shots. Big men are shooting threes that shouldn't be shooting threes. And people are like, if these players don't care, like you just said, Will, to put in an effort day in and day out and game in and game out, why should I, as a fan, put in my effort and my time and my money to support you? And that's obviously when people are getting into, maybe we should go to 60 games instead of 82 games. Does that help with injuries and things like that? But in general, there's plenty of critique for the NBA during the regular season, but these playoffs have been awesome.
Why do you think the playoffs have been so good this year? Like, because they have been notably better this year than in years past. And it's the same system. It's the same setup. It's the same game. Arguably, the game itself is actually a little bit worse because of the three-point shots and the fact that Boston shoots 1 million a game. So why do you think this year in particular is different?
Another hot take. I think a big reason people are tuning in more is because LeBron, Luka, and the Lakers got bounced. I think there's a lot of people that LeBron's been amazing. This is not to take away from his legacy. He's a legend. He's an all-time player. But a lot of people, I think, were wondering, how in the world did this trade go down? And the fact that Anthony Edwards is basically on just this Grim Reaper Slayer tour run right now in the playoffs is amazing. Like, if he's able to continue to go and defeat some of these unbelievable players and teams, take out Luka and the Lakers and LeBron and the Lakers. Obviously, it's been the Curryless Warriors, but if he's able to end it tonight, that would break my heart. But if he's able to beat SGA and the Thunder, that would be an unreal story. The Knicks have a resurgence. Like, when the New York Knicks are good at basketball, you kind of feel like a little bit of nostalgia. People are loving that. Seems like there's legit rivalries, and defense is being played, Will. Legit defense is being played, and people love that. It's like, where was this for 82 games? Defense is being played, and superstars are rising, and it's cool to see this new wave of young stars coming in. Tatum felt slighted in the Olympics. Now he's doing his thing. Obviously, he got injured, but he was having a great run. People, I think, are seeing that, and they like the effort. They love the excitement. They love that no lead is safe. And, I mean, that's at least my take why these NBA playoffs have been so much fun.
I think they've been chippy. They've been aggressive, especially the Warriors-Rockets series. And anything that Anthony Edwards is involved in is going to be mouthy and chippy and fun for the viewers because, like, that dude loves to compete. That dude loves to talk. That's the guy that everybody loves to watch because of it. It's like Kobe and Jordan. Like, you see that dog come out in him, and it's so relatable because as a fan, you're rabid. You're nuts. You're not thinking straight. So to see your guy or a guy play like that, I think it's so relatable. And Tyrese Halliburton, the way he plays is fun to watch. So the stars, I think, are morphing more into like modern day, today's America of really busting ass and playing hard and trying versus some of the other stars. It was different. It didn't seem that way. And I think we came a long way between Michael Jordan, Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant. And again, LeBron's the best player of our generation. He's not LeBron. He's not Michael. He's not the GOAT, but, or at least of this generation. I don't know. I don't even know how you define generations anymore. Like, they just keep adding them and changing names, and I don't get it. But
he's played so long, he's going across like multiple generations.
Is wildly impressive.
Yeah.
But the way he plays the game, there's so much left to be out there because to see the biggest physical freak on earth, to be as big as he is, athletic as he is, as nimble as he is, flop the way he does, it's you can't respect it. It's the same thing in soccer. When you see these dudes flop, it's like, I'm not watching this stuff. I can't watch this stuff. I can't respect the man that plays that way. Anthony Edwards doesn't play that way. Steph Curry doesn't play that way. Draymond Green certainly goes too far, but like dirty, yes, far too dirty. There's a screw loose in there somewhere, but at least it's all in the name of winning versus like stealing a call and like bending the rules in a way that it just is you can't respect.
You want to see legit animosity in sports. So we're now in the jersey swapping era of sports. And they're just like, all right, dude, everybody's dapping each other up at the end of the game. Everybody's working out with each other during the off season, and they're all buddy-buddy. So when we watch these playoffs, it's like, it's kind of nice to see people get ejected from a game. It's almost nice. Like, you don't want to see people get cheap shotted, but you want to see people play and these athletes play so physical to where they're like, I am not your friend. I am your competitor. Like, we can shake hands and dap up out of respect, but it's not like I'm just being detrimental to the game because I don't want to beat up my buddy and I just want to be friends. And it's like, no, rivalries make sports. And I think that's another thing that the NBA is struggling with right now. There's no, in my opinion, real legit rivalries. And I think that's slowly morphing into maybe these younger players see how much success they find in the playoffs. And then we'll see the formulation of rivalries. That's what people love to see. They love to, I mean, even in the WNBA, I think it's silly that there's a rivalry between Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark, but people still tuned in for it, whether it's a fabricated rivalry between a post player and a guard. People like that. That's why people like boxing. That's why people like MMA. They like the trash talk. They like the animosity, and they want to see people really going at it, and athletes that get paid millions of dollars really put in a lot of effort and put their, body on the line for not just their team, but their city. And I think that's why you see places like New York really flocking to these players. Like, they're playing hurt. Boston's doing the same thing. People love that.
Two things you touched on is the friendly nature, and it starts when these guys are kids because they all go to the same school or AAU or whatever it is, so they all know each other, and I hate it. Like, it's bad for the game as well. I love that they're friends. Great, be friends in the off season, but not during the regular season and not pregame. Ime Udoka, the head coach of the Rockets, made such a great point again in his postseason press conference talking about Amen Thompson, and what made him so much better this year is that he took the approach of no friends on the court, because this is a business, and it is like they're trying to take food off your plate. That's the concept behind it, and Amen took that to heart, and we saw how dang good Amen was. To your rivalry note, rivalries are built, at least the way I see it, in divisions and regionally. And divisions are made regionally. Well, look at the NBA, man. Like, there's no divisions. It doesn't matter. Like, the divisions are completely irrelevant. Winning your division means nothing. Yankees and Red Sox obviously goes back 100 years, but you look at the NFL and the rivalries that are in there, or even in baseball, it's because you play each other a little bit extra. It means a little bit more. You see each other all the time when it matters most, and you grow tired of that person. Like, you really hate seeing that person 18 times a season or whatever it is. The NBA doesn't have that. They're trying to play this national brand of basketball, and sports are really, really regional outside of the NFL right now. MLB is as popular as it's been, but it's very regional. The national broadcasts don't do particularly well. Neither do the NBA ones. And I'm sure that the Warriors do really well nationally, but they also do really well locally. Rockets right now, until they get there, do well here, not nationally. And, the same thing with teams that aren't as good. So you're not going to have the rivalries if you don't play each other in the games that matter most throughout the regular season. Like, they have to bring back divisions and have them matter.
Yeah, and that's why I think the NBA is so focused on these playoffs being competitive. Like, there's got to be, you would kind of hope that there's going to be another like Warriors Rockets thing, but obviously, unfortunately, on the Houston's end, it's been a long time of Warriors dominance. And even though there's a lot of great young players on this Houston team, it's like Curry and Draymond are only going to last only so long. So you're not really going to have that sustained rivalry there out in the West. And I don't know, they struggle because you got players like John Morant that have been really stupid off the court. I think they were really hoping that he'd be a star. He's an unbelievable athlete, but they've had to suspend him. And it's hard because they have to try to market these things. And they also kind of just have to hope that these series go well, or there's something magnificent that happens between a couple players building some animosity or some unbelievable performances. I mean, it's really difficult, but I think their main focus should be on marketing the individual player. And I think that's what gets young kids to watch. I think that's what gets young kids to get their parents to drag them to games. And as much as I don't like Anthony Edwards as an individual, that guy has a great brand, and he knows how to market himself. And he knows, like you said, how to have that Kobe and MJ mentality where you guys aren't my buddies. I'm trying to slit all these major superstars' throats in order to get my trophy. That's what people want to see, and that's what they're attracted to, and that's what they're going to continue to watch.
What don't you like about Anthony Edwards?
Anthony Edwards, big thing with him, he ended up coercing some woman, paid her a large sum of money to get an abortion. And that came out. For me, I am staunchly pro-life. When I saw that was awful. Came out against him big time. And in general, if we get back to the political conversation, I'm able to still separate the art from the politics, the art from the individual. It's plenty of conversations I've had with my dad and other people that are so caught up in the political realm. I will watch some movies with some great actors, and I might just disagree with them fervently about their politics. They might say some things that really concern me politically, or even something against my faith. But at the same time, I feel like I can go and enjoy a movie. I can enjoy watching some of these games on TV. And I might even spend some of my money to go to these games to see some of these players. People might not always agree with me from that sense, but I think that's what we have to do. Is we can separate the entertainment from the individual, but there is times it's a different conversation at a different time about if there's a line that's crossed, that's when you just can't support people. But I really do try to separate the art from the politics.
Do you think the NBA's done a better job at trying to separate themselves from some of the political water they kind of like injected themselves in over the last few years?
The best thing for the NBA will be LeBron retiring, Steve Kerr retiring, Greg Popovich retiring. It's some of those things are already in motion. And in general, this is not me as a conservative saying, yeah, we need to have a lot of conservative politics into sports. No, sports need to be as apolitical as humanly possible. Sports are a place that we come as an outlet away from politics, away from the craziness of life. But they have really injected themselves into partisan politics and left-wing politics that has turned a lot of people off. And I think there's been a ripple effect of that, like I mentioned earlier, from 2020. I wouldn't want me, and this is another, like, I don't want to get any of you guys in hot water, but
hey, these are your takes. You can have any opinion you want, man.
I wouldn't want the NBA, let's say the NBA is conservative or right leaning, to come out and stand up for Derek Chauvin. Let's say they go on the other side of the aisle there, and it's like, all this evidence is pointing that it was a fentanyl overdose and it wasn't actually a neon. It's like, why? Why do we need to tune into sports to hear about your political takes? Like, I don't need to see players kneeling and where it says police lives matter. That's not why we tune into sports. So like, I hope that people can understand when I bring up politics and sports, I want them to be as apolitical as possible. Sports have the ability to bring us together unlike anything else, unlike any outlet in the history of the United States of America or even the world. And I want them to get back to that place because I want to go to a game and be like, this guy to my right, this guy to my left, no idea how they voted, no idea what their socioeconomic background is, but they're rooting for this team. I'm also rooting for that team, or they're rooting for the other team. And we want to see a good game. And I want to see my team win. That's it. That's what we want to see in sports. But when we do see sports get political, I would love to see moments like 9/11. Where people come together through sports to band together as Americans and find some sort of healing after a major attack or some major moment that happened on the U.S. stage or world stage. Sports has the ability to bring us together unlike anything. And I hope we can get back there, but it's not going to happen when leagues are sponsoring and promoting specific partisan politics.
I mean, I'm glad you mentioned 9/11 because I was at the 2001 World Series. I live in Connecticut, going to that Yankees Diamondbacks World Series. Like it was the greatest escape in one's life, and to strip away all the stuff that just doesn't matter, all the sadness, and to when Scott Brosius hit the home run down the left field line, I hugged people I'd never seen in my life, just embracing. Like, it was the greatest moment, and you forgot about everything, and that's what sports does. It's the greatest escape on earth. You can forget about everything. You don't care who's next to you. You just know that y'all are all now in this one tribe together for those 3.5 hours, and it's so much fun. It's the best time. So I mean, you're right about that. It's the greatest unifier in the world, dude.
Why do you think people are flocking to Savannah Bananas games? It's just like, and I know that's another like hot topic right now, but people just, families love it, kids love it. It's entertaining. They're talented. They're selling out football stadiums for basically being, and I know their founder and owner doesn't like being compared to the Harlem Globetrotters, but they're basically the Harlem Globetrotters on steroids, doing it bigger and better. And that's what people like about sports. Like, obviously, this is not talking about major pro sports like the NBA, NHL, NFL, and everything else. But people flock to that because it's like, this is a nice escape. This is fun. This is entertaining. And this is why I love watching sports. It brings out the best in it.
It's safe. Going to NFL games in certain cities is dangerous. My wife will travel with me wherever I go when she can go, and she'll go to the game alone. And normally, she's fine. She went to San Francisco, and the walk from the stadium to the hotel, which is in the parking lot, was the scariest walk she said she's ever experienced. I mean, grown men yelling at a woman alone just making that walk. She didn't feel comfortable. I mean, that's the stuff that's so scary because of the drinking that partakes, these grown men that have no responsibilities or have nothing to lose, it feels like, the way they act. And that's the Savannah Bananas are not that. It's a family atmosphere where you can get everything all right in front of you and you don't have to worry about your kids or your wife.
Yeah, and then also, too, people, like specifically parents, and I could probably speak for the vast majority of parents and families, don't bring their kids to a game to hear about people's sexual orientation and pushing like sexual politics. That's why I think Pride Nights, which started as basically a celebration of marriage equality, have been blown out of freaking proportion. And I think people right, left, and center can be like, this is not why I bring my kids to the game. I might be a little bit more, liberal on some of these topics and the trans issue or whatever it may be, but like I bring my kid to here to watch the game and enjoy athletic feats. I don't come here for these partisan politics and to have men dressed up as women paraded around the stadium and having conversations and interactions with my kid that I never got at games before. And I know that's another thing that's extremely controversial, but I think it's been super detrimental to the game. And it's not helpful for families. And I think it's gone so far because I wouldn't expect to have some sort of Christian night and want all these players to wear, a cross on their jersey. I'm not forcing. I don't want to force my faith on these guys that aren't aligned with Jesus. We don't need to push that. We just need sports. That's it. And I think these are things that hopefully leagues, teams, and individuals are waking up to. And I think they're conversations that need to be had because a lot of people obviously could listen to this and be like, oh, of course, the Christian conservative guy doesn't like pride. He doesn't like the gays. It's like, in general, I hate politics in sports. It is so divisive. It is so regressive. And it really takes away from just celebrating these amazing athletes and just really divides fan bases and individuals across political lines when it's just not needed whatsoever.
And I think conversations like this and your takes like this, whether someone agrees or not, or whether it's accurate or not, or on base or not, are healthy. I think we just more conversation, the better. Any conversation, good. Flush out what you like, flush out what you don't like. Like, have a healthy conversation. For so long there, it seemed like we weren't allowed to talk about anything. So half the population, for argument's sakes, just wasn't allowed to talk. And that's just not healthy. And anybody that watches Kickin It With Kunkel, everyone's always welcome. Make your comments, like it, share it. Definitely like it because it helps my algorithm, please. But it's good. It's healthy. Let's get back to basketball because it is a sports show. How do you fix the NBA as Jon Root?
What I need to do is you axe the in-season tournament. That needs to be gone. That's a total gimmick. Players don't care about it. If they're not going to put it in an effort during the regular season at all, why are they going to put in an effort for an in-season tournament? It's a trophy that doesn't mean anything. It's a banner that basically should just be burned in the streets. What you need to do is load management too is absolutely out of control. I get in every single sport, owners and teams are spending an exorbitant amount of money on these assets. That's who these players are. They're betting on these players to be incredible for a lengthy amount of time or this contractual amount of time so they can make more money and win trophies and set up their business to make more money. Sports are a business. I think you need to start cracking down, Adam Silver, on the load management. There needs to be, I don't know exactly how the system it would be, but there's plenty of people like the Joel Embiids that have just lost any sort of respect from the everyday fan because they're like, I just don't want to play. And then I think those are probably some of the main things. There's plenty of issues with how games are accessible. There's so many different places that you watch games and stuff. Like, I think that's really low on the totem pole. And then another thing too is I think they don't need to come out and be like, oh, we screwed up in 2020 and got too political. Just move forward, start elevating some of these young athletes, and lock down on load management, get rid of the in-season tournament. And in general, like, I don't know what the overhaul is going to need to be for the All-Star game, but what people want to see more than anything, and this is just totally general what they need to do, is know that, like, hey, us as a league, our teams and our individual players, we're going to put in an effort for you because you put in an effort for us. I don't know if that means going down like 10 or 12 less games, I think that kind of screws things up when it comes to stats historically and everything. I'm not really in favor of it, but I think if you crack down on load management, say you got to play, we pay you to play, and if you don't play, we're going to fine you for not playing. That's at least a good start.
Yeah, I think that's where they got to start, is the load management, because that's the overwhelming topic that fans are so ticked off about, and panelists are ticked off about, because no one can get behind it. It's bad for the game. It's bad for the fans. It's bad for everybody. It's bad for the NBA, and they've got to fix that. I think as well. Lastly, is the lottery rigged?
I had to put my tinfoil hat on because I was like, number one, I mean, call me a conspiracy theorist, but that trade was such a joke. You're telling me the only team that knew about Luka being on the trade block were the Lakers? Like, come on. And then LeBron trying to say, oh, I wasn't aware of it. It's like, that guy runs the show in LA.
He's got more coaches fired than anybody in the history of sports.
Luka is a generational talent. I was born in the Bay Area, but grew up in Sacramento most of my life, so I got a soft spot for the Sacramento Kings. I'm not a Kings fan. I'm a Warriors fan, but early 2000s, they were amazing. So I got a bunch of friends that are Kings fans, and when the Kings passed on Luka, I'm like, oh, this is such a stupid decision. And now seeing what he's turned into and all the excuses of he had a beer a few times and he was gaining weight. It's like, this guy took you to the finals last year. And then when it comes to this, where it's like the Mavericks are down in the depths. I can't remember the name of the player that they rescinded the trade, which was like, it seemed like tampering too, where like the Lakers could just say,
that was the
no,
Chris
never
Paul,
mind,
Chris
scratch
Paul,
that.
New Orleans Hornets.
Yeah. Now it's like, 1.8% chance for the Mavericks to get the number one pick. Wow, that's convenient. I think there needs to be more transparency. I think more than anything, I would be inclined to say I can't plant my flag that it's rigged. But I would say, at very least, it is bad for business when people are questioning the integrity of your game, not only with officiating, with the rise of gambling, and then now you see what's gone on with the Lakers and the Mavericks, with both the trade and Mavericks with the lottery. You don't want people asking these questions. You don't want people thinking maybe this has kind of got a WWE element to it. They need to record everything they're doing, and there needs to be complete transparency. Even LeBron has even said that he thinks there's a rigging. I think he said that in the LeBron versation on the Pat McAfee show, and I'm like, something I can agree with LeBron on. Let's go. Yes.
So if you had to bet $500 of your own money that's rigged or not, what are you betting?
That's rigged.
Yeah. All right. So that's where your money.
Don't tell my wife I just put 500 down, but
might be. It probably isn't even plus money.
They Ernst and Young. It's like, no, like they have this group Ernst and Young in there. It's like, dude, it's like people haven't watched The Big Short, where they're just like, we can trust the bank. They have our best interests in mind. It's like, how in the world are you saying? You probably are getting paid by the NBA or Ernst and Young to say, yeah, they are totally credible. Like, we can trust them, even though we have no idea what's going on behind the scenes. And we might have, half a dozen people that jump online and say, I was in the room. It's like, cool. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you have credibility. And I don't really know why I should trust you as a media member. So I'm putting the 500 down.
Why not just show the whole thing? You already bill it as a must-watch TV thing, so why not just show the whole thing happen? Watch the whole every ball get drawn.
It adds
Watch
to the
the
intrigue.
Whole thing.
It adds to but it's in general. You're coming down to a credibility conversation.
Yeah. And
your credibility is in question. So if your credibility is in question, you probably need reform.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
I agree, dude. I said where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, you can't have that smoke and that fog surrounding your product. All bad.
Yeah. And And especially with how well these playoffs are going, and again, like the rise of these young stars, and people are tuning in, even though it's not as much as they were maybe a decade ago. There's still a little rise in popularity because of these playoffs, and you can't do another thing to hurt your product. And we know, like you mentioned too, the MLB is suffering from that. They got some good superstars, and they got to figure out a way to market them, and they got to figure out a way to keep these eyeballs on these teams and these players. And the NBA, once your credibility is questioned, no league is going to be like the NFL. You could probably come out with clear and obvious evidence that there's tampering and cheating going on in the NFL, and I think people would be like, whatever, it's America, we like football. Like, we'll keep watching. But you don't have that kind of leash with these other leagues.
Yeah, man, you mentioned stars, and I wish the MLB was a little bit more like the NBA and get Mike Trout out of the Angels. Like, we're being done a disservice to not be able to watch this dude in October. It's so sad.
Yeah, it's as an A's fan, I love seeing the Angels struggle. As an A's fan, I like to see the Astros struggle after everything they put me through. But in general, there's times where you just don't really have a charismatic superstar. Like Mike Trout just isn't a charismatic, personable superstar. He's just a good dude. And I feel like in general, he's done better in the marketing standpoint over this last offseason when he was searching for his rookie card with his kid. Like these are simple little marketing things that you can do. Like people like baseball cards, and start partnering there, and then you can get kids that are so into the hobby to start watching games on TV and going to games. Like there's ways you can cross promote stuff. And then another thing too is Shohei Ohtani, which I think other leagues are struggling with. He's a foreign player. Shohei Ohtani doesn't speak fluent English. Jokic is one of the best players, and in my opinion, I think he should win the MVP. That's not a slight at SGA, and if SGA wins, I think he's also deserving, but my vote would be for Jokic. Jokic is an international star. Luka's an international star. So people, I think, are putting a lot of fake money down on people like Anthony Edwards because they want to have the U.S.-born star. And that connection within the United States, people are drawn to. But MLB is struggling with that. The NBA, I think, is also struggling with foreign superstars. And it's hard to, especially when you have someone like Shohei Ohtani that just doesn't speak English. There's a little bit of that divide there. And I love him as a player, and I think as a personality, he's pretty fun too. His dog's cute, and he's an unbelievable athlete. But in general, I think there's a major divide when your superstar just can't relate to the U.S. audience.
It's interesting you say that. Ryan Hollins, who's the color analyst for the Rockets, was in studio here, and we were talking about that whole thing. Like when Jokic is the league's best player, and the first thing he says when he wins the national championship is like, "Can I go home now? And do I have to go to the parade?" Not good for the league. Like, not good for the league, man.
No, and it's something too that it's what you have right now, and most likely he's the best player in the NBA. Maybe in my opinion, that's another hot take. And he's got such an unorthodox way of playing, but I think it's still entertaining to watch, and could go down as the greatest big man of all time. But maybe the NBA, it's like try to lean into that and almost like poke fun at that. There's a funny creator online, I can't remember his name, but he dresses up like Nikola Jokic and does the same thing as like, well, I guess I got to go to work today, and I just put up 40 points, a zillion rebounds, and a couple assists, and now I'll just go home to my horses and go to bed. Go to work.
I mean, that's what he's the greatest noon ball player over 55 of all time. Like, he's the greatest guy, 55 and over at noon, that anyone's ever seen, and he's doing it at the highest level.
And it's like, maybe just lean into that a little bit more. It's like, it's what you got. So like he's just kind of like he's like an Eeyore type figure, but obviously not like sad all the time. He's just more like, this is what I do. I play basketball and I'm good at it. And just lean into it. And I think that would be a fun thing without making him. It's like, he should not be the face of the NBA. But he's probably the best player in the NBA, or will at least be in the top 3 for the next, decade, half a decade, whatever it may be, as long as he stays healthy. It's like lean into a few of those just funny personality traits, and then, elevate some of the other players that are moving on up.
Man, I appreciate your time, Jon. This has been a lot of fun. I think it's been a good conversation. Anyone get at Jon? What's your tag? Where do people find you and whatnot?
Don't say anything to Will. These are my political takes. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I understand the nature of the business. Will's worked hard to where he's at. So executives, fans, everybody, direct them to @JohnnyRoot_ on Instagram, TikTok, X, whatever it may be. Jump in the DMs, let everything out, leave Will alone. I appreciate the time, Will. Always have a great conversation with you.
You're the man. But also, everyone, give me the follow. I'll take the followers.
Yes.
Jon, thanks, dude.